Hello everyone, can you hear me okay? Thank you very much for coming. I'm assuming that the people in here are interested in studying psychology. So today we want to talk to you a little bit about what it is and what it isn't. And then we have two of our students who are going to talk to you after me, and then you can see what kind of things they do. And then there'll be time for some questions at the end, but also don't forget we're down in the tent on the lawns at the back of the uni afterwards if you want to speak to any of us. So, I'm the head of the school. My name's Chur-Hansen, and I'd like to tell you that so often people come to me and talk about psychology, even people studying psychology, and there seem to be some misconceptions. So some of the misconceptions are that it's easy. It's not. I so often hear people say that psychology is just common sense. It isn't. Some people think that studying psychology is just chatting to people, like counselling. No, it's not. And so many people, including some secondary school teachers, have told me that it's 3 years to become a psychologist. No, it isn't. We are not fortune tellers, so psychology is not to become a psychic. This is Sigmund Freud's couch, and we don't do this, so we don't ask you to lie on a couch and talk about your mum. When I was younger and would go to many parties, people were always quite convinced that I was reading their mind, and I can read your mind about the same extent that you can read mine. That's a human trait rather than some sort of thing we learn in psychology. And the other thing that people get mixed up about is that this is psychiatry. Psychology is not psychiatry. If you want to be a psychiatrist, you need to do a medical degree and then get into their postgraduate training program. So psychology and psychiatry are not the same, and if you study psychology, you cannot become a psychiatrist. So that's what it is, and what is it then? Psychology is the scientific study of human behaviour. Some of us study animal behaviour as well, but generally speaking, we're interested in humans. And what we do is we take the principles of science and we apply them to human thought, the mind, behaviour, so the behaviour that we can see and the behaviour that we can't, so the things that people think about, what they say, how they behave. And we try to understand why people do what they do. We don't only try to understand individuals, we also try to understand groups of people too. So in some ways, we're a little bit related to anthropology. So any of you thinking about doing psychology and anthropology, that's a very nice mix. The other thing that's important to remember about psychology is that we are a discipline, so a scientific discipline, but we're also a profession. So what that means is that some people study psychology so that they can learn about the science of psychology and they become researchers, for example, and they might teach at universities or work in research places. And some of us are practitioners, so some of us are more interested in the art of psychology, if you like, so the profession of psychology. And then some of us, like me and many of my colleagues, we do both. And in psychology, we talk about the science practitioner model, so that's held up as an ideal. There are lots of people, though, who don't want to become a practitioner. They don't want to become a psychologist per se, and that might apply to many of you here. So in that case, you would take psychology perhaps as part of another degree, like a Bachelor of Arts, or you might do it as a major in another degree. And in that case, you would study psychology for the 3 years, or you might do the honours year as well, so do 4 years. And if you chose to do that, then you would gain many, many valuable skills that transfer across to almost any career path. Psychology is an incredibly useful area of study. So you would learn about things like critical thinking, or another way of saying that is analytical thinking. You would learn about experimental design, specifically in relation to how to study human behaviour. You would learn about how to analyse data, and that would be in relation to statistics, but also how we analyse words and speaking. And your written communication and your verbal communication skills should be much improved by studying psychology. So psychology is very broad and it suits lots of different kinds of people. It's suitable for people who perhaps are a little bit introverted and would rather sit alone and study, but it also suits the more extroverted of us who like to work together in groups. And it's suitable for people with a humanities bent, and it's suitable for people interested in the social sciences, right through to people more interested in maths and science. So psychology has broad appeal. The breadth of psychology, and I won't go through this in detail, but if you go to the tent, you will see this poster up. You can look at it more closely. But you can see from that psychology really branches out to an enormous number of areas. So on that diagram, you can see that we are relevant to and related to law, to education, to management, sociology, right through to medicine, nursing, pharmacology, and so on. If you study for the 3 or 4 years, there are many different places where you may find employment, and some of the main places where our graduates have found employment include working in community and social services, working in healthcare services like hospitals. HR is another place where our graduates find work, the military, the police, and as I mentioned before, in research. If you want to become a psychologist, or if you want to become a practitioner, you have to do more than those 4 years. You have to do at least 6 years of study if you want to call yourself a registered psychologist. So they're the ones who see patients or clients, they're the practitioners. So after the 3 years of study where you've majored in psychology, you would apply for honours the 4th year, and then after that 4th year you would apply for the masters, which is years 5 and 6. At this university we're special for many reasons, but one reason is because we offer 3 different masters. We're the only university in South Australia that offers more than clinical psychology. So we offer clinical masters, health masters, and organisational and human factors masters. And after you've done year 6 of one of those masters, then you do another 2 years of supervised practice, and then you can call yourself a health psychologist or an organisational psychologist or a clinical psychologist. So as I mentioned earlier, it's not 3 years. Once you've done your years of training and become a psychologist, again, there's an enormous number of places in which you will find employment. And I can say, hand on my heart, I don't know any registered psychologists who are not working. So I won't read these all to you, you can see them there, but there are many, many places where we find work. Some people, after doing the 3 years of study, really want to go on, but they don't want to see patients or clients. So they might decide they would like to become a research psychologist. So what they do is they do the 3 years of study, majoring in psychology, then they do honours, and then they apply for entry into a PhD, and that's another 3 years full-time. Some of us, as I said, do both. We do both the profession and the science of psychology. And so we have here at the University of Adelaide a PhD plus a Master of Psychology degree, which is put together, and that is designed to take 4 years after your honours rather than 5. If you'd like to look about other careers in psychology, because there are many other avenues besides clinical health and organisational, but for those you need to go interstate, if you have a look on the Australian Psychological Society website, they have a YouTube where they interview a whole pile of different people about what they've done with their careers. And now what I want to do is, as I said, I want to introduce to you two of our students who are currently in our program. Carly Sutherland first, and then Caitlin Harkness will talk to you. So I'll introduce Carly. And why is this not playing? Yeah, there's always a technical difficulty in these things, so just a moment while we...
It's fine. I can introduce myself in the
Yes,
meantime, I guess.
talk while I step away.
Yeah, so my name's Carly. I'm a student in the combined PhD Master of Psychology program that Anna mentioned, and I've been studying psychology here for 6 years. And I've put together a video, which we can hopefully get to work in a minute, about my experiences studying psychology and how my background has influenced the work I'm doing now. And I'll be around later at the lawns if you'd like to ask me about it. So,
Do we have a technician? Oh.
my area of interest is rural and remote psychology, which stems from my background growing up in Birdwitton, a small community just outside Mildura in the Sunraysia region of rural Victoria. As well as the academic side of things, in my first few years of uni, I experienced a range of areas of psychology and also elective in other disciplines like anthropology. As well as the academic side of things, in my first few years of uni, I became involved in several clubs, which was a great opportunity for me as I didn't know many people from Adelaide and I didn't know anyone else studying psychology. I joined the Psychology Students Association in my first year of uni and was president in my third year. The club was a fantastic way to meet other students and also staff at the university and to develop skills like presenting to large groups and planning and managing big events. The club holds social and academic events every year like the Psychology Ball, and I highly recommend you get involved. It's great fun. The other club I have been involved in is AURA, the Adelaide University Rural Health Alliance. AURA is a club for all health students with an interest in rural health, including psychology, but also medicine, dentistry, oral health and nursing. Through AURA, I've been able to attend lots of social events and rural health conferences around Australia. So in my honours year, which is the fourth year of study, which includes a large independent research project, I decided that I wanted to pursue my interest in rural and remote psychology. Having experienced the city life, I was more aware of the lack of options and services when it comes to health and mental health care. It's unfortunately so common to rural Australians. And equality and access to services in rural communities have become something I was very passionate about. At this point, I decided I wanted to put the skills I've developed in my psychology degree to use in attempting to solve a small part of this problem. I worked with my supervisor Anna and a rural psychologist working in the field to develop a research topic. We identified that an area of need was investigating the competencies, or knowledge, skills and attitudes, required to work as a psychologist in the country. While there was lots of anecdotal evidence out there of what it's like to work in the country, there has been very little formal research on the topic with psychologists. I conducted a research study which involved interviewing psychologists working in rural and remote Australia via telephone, and using the data collected from these interviews, we came up with a checklist of competencies for working as a country psychologist. I really enjoyed doing this research, but I knew I also wanted to pursue a career as a rural clinical psychologist. So, after my honours year, I applied for the combined PhD Master of Clinical Psychology program, which gave me the best of both worlds, and began this degree in 2013. The combined program involves a full PhD research project as well as all the coursework and placements required of the master's program, so it's very busy. I've completed one placement so far at the university's multidisciplinary health clinic in the north of Adelaide, working with children and families. For my current PhD research, I'm expanding the honours project I described previously, this time incorporating the perspectives of psychologists who visit from the city, known as fly-in, fly-out and drive-in, drive-out, or FIFO and DIDO psychologists, rural doctors, and rural community members. Hopefully we can incorporate all of these perspectives to develop a better picture of what is required to work as a psychologist in the country, including what community members want and what rural doctors want, and we can use this information to better train psychology students with the skills they need and also to target people with the right interests and abilities to work in the country, so we can improve recruitment and retention strategies and provide the best psychological services possible to rural communities. Through this research, and also through Aura, I've been really fortunate to be able to travel across Australia and overseas. I've presented at academic conferences in Adelaide, Melbourne, Creswick and Cairns, and with Aura I've travelled to the Eyre Peninsula and Barossa Valley to meet with rural high school students to talk to them about studying psychology. This year I was also fortunate to be able to go to Paris to present my research at an international psychology conference, something I never imagined I would do when I first started uni. It was my first time overseas and I was able to combine the conference with a holiday in France, Germany and the UK. The School of Psychology provides support to PhD students to present at conferences overseas, and there are other scholarships available, so this is an opportunity open to all PhD students if you decide you'd like to pursue postgraduate studies in psychology. Studying psychology at the University of Adelaide has provided me with many opportunities that I never thought I'd have, and I've also learnt the importance of making the most of any opportunity that comes your way, which would be my advice to you if you decide to join us here at the School of Psychology. I'd like to particularly say to any country students who may be here today and may be contemplating the big move to Adelaide and all the challenges that come with that it is possible and that you can do really well, and that we need you. We need more students in rural areas studying psychology. I wish you all the best with your journey with psychology, and I hope to see you around next year.
Perfect, thank you.
Off we go.
Hi guys, my name's Caitlin. I am also from the School of Psychology and I'm doing the same program Carly is, so the combined Master's and PhD in Clinical Psychology. What I'm going to present to you is my 3-minute thesis. The 3-minute thesis is a competition nationally as well as internationally now, where you try and convey your research in 3 minutes. The idea being that it develops skills to communicate what you're doing clearly and concisely and in a language that the general population can understand. So hopefully in the next 3 minutes I'll be able to explain what my research is. And I've noticed I don't have a walking microphone, so I will try and speak really loudly. You're running through the jungle. A tiger is in hot pursuit. Your blood pressure and heart rate increase. More blood is being pumped to your muscles, fueling you to run faster. After all, your survival depends on it. These physiological changes, known as the fight or flight response, evolve so that you could escape dangers like tigers in your environment. But once you've escaped, you can relax. The stress is over. Now, imagine a modern day situation. You have a demanding boss. Your phone is constantly ringing and your inbox is overflowing, but you cannot escape these sources of stress like you did the tiger. This is the experience of chronic stress, and it has a negative effect on your health, in particular, your immune system, making you more likely to catch a cold, develop a serious chronic illness like irritable bowel disease, or a mental illness like depression. For example, think of a time when you had an important deadline looming and everything was going wrong. You probably felt ill after this period, right? Because stress affects your immune system. And 93% of you, Australian adults, are feeling stressed in at least one important area of your life. So what are we to do? Well, interestingly, alongside the stress epidemic, you're hearing increasingly more about the practice of yoga. You might have even heard that yoga is good for stress reduction. And this is where my research comes in. I'm examining the effects of a regular yoga practice in a group of over 100 chronically stressed women. Previous research has focused on simply asking people how they feel before and after they practice yoga. What's really exciting about my research is that I'm measuring molecules in the women's blood that reflect how well their immune systems are functioning. So I can objectively measure how stressed their bodies are. Half of these women began a regular yoga practice, and half were asked not to do any yoga, as they formed the control group. After a period of 2 months, the blood measures from both groups were taken again to see if there were any changes. My data so far indicate that practicing yoga benefited the immune system's function, as well as positively affected how the women felt. So while you may never escape the demanding boss, like you did the tiger, the negative effects of stress may be controlled through a regular yoga practice. What does this mean for you? Well, doctors may one day prescribe you a remedy for your stress-related ails that does not come in a bottle, but comes on a mat. Namaste.
I was thinking of taking questions in here, but I don't know how easy it's going to be for people to call out and ask questions. Is there anyone who has a burning question they would like to ask now? Otherwise, if you come down to the lawns, down the back of the university near the river, we will be there and we will answer any questions you have. And hopefully we will see you in the School of Psychology. Thank you very much.